In this video, we are talking about the 2014 movie Maleficent. We will discuss the movie story, talk about its plots, cast and characters, budget and box office, as well as review and facts. So let's begin. The film opens with the narrator Janet MCT stating that you may have heard this story before, but says you may remember it differently. As it begins, there were two rival kingdoms. The first was the human kingdom, ruled by the great, powerful, hungry king, while the second kingdom, Timor's, was peaceful, home to a number of delicate and gentle creatures. Sitting in a tree as a young fairy girl, Maleficent, Isabel Molloy, she is playing with dolls until she hears a noise. A branch on the trees has snapped, and he wraps her tree's hands around it to magically fix it. She then spreads her large wings and takes flight across the land. Greeting all other creatures she sees, she comes across the three pixels. Little Leslie, meanwhile, and Juno Temple, who tell Maleficent that the forest guards have caught a thief trying to steal a jewel. Maleficent flies to investigate it. The two large tree-like guards are holding back the chief as he hides. Maleficent tells him to come out and is surprised to see it as a human boy. Looking no different from her, other than the wings and horns. His name is Stephen Michael Higgins, and he is holding a jewel. Maleficent tells him to hand it back, and once he does, she tosses it into a river. She escorts him out of the moors and learns that his parents are dead. He leaves, but returns to the moor weeks later. From here, Maleficent and Stephen form a friendship, which later blossomed into a romance in their teenager years. On her 16th birthday, Stephen gives Maleficent true love's kiss. However, this was not meant to last. Now an adult, now played by Angelina Jolie, Maleficent is a more powerful guardian of the moors. From the distance, she spots King Henry and his army charging towards the moors. Maleficent leads her own army of the forest guardians against Henry's forces. She swoops down and takes down the soldiers with a few flaps of her wings. She throws them off their feet. She even brings Henry down, but he pushes her away with his armor, as it is made for iron, and iron burns fairies. Henry's army retreats back to the kingdom. In his bed, Henry speaks to his men, including the adult Stephen, now played by Sherlock Copley, ordering them to kill Maleficent. The one who does so will be appointed as his successor to throne. Stephen goes back into the moors at night to see out Maleficent. She finds him and they reconnect after spending so much time apart. He gives her a wine to drink, which is laced with a drug. When Maleficent is asleep, Stephen pulls out a knife to kill her, but he cannot bring himself to do it. Instead, he takes a chain and uses it to take off Maleficent's wings. He brings them back to Henry to prove that he slew Maleficent. When she awakens, she feels the pain on her back and then wails when he realizes her wings were stolen. She later picks up a stick, which transforms into her scaper, then walks furiously through the moors until she sits near the ruins. At the same time, Stephen is crowned king and is married to Henry's daughter, Layla. Hannah knew Maleficent screams and lets out a powerful blast of green light into the sky, which Stephen can see from his tower. In the morning, Maleficent sees a man capture a raven with a net, hurting it mercilessly. She uses her magic to turn the raven into man. Similarly, the first man runs away, thinking he just captured a demon. Maleficent comes before the man raven, who is at first unhappy with having his form changed until he realizes that Maleficent saved him. He introduces himself as a devil and agrees to be Maleficent's wings. He will spy on Stefan for her. One day, the handmaids in the kingdom chatter about the birth of the baby girl. Devil overhears in his raven from and reported back to Maleficent to tell her that Stefan and Layla has welcomed baby girl. They hold a christening for the little princess Aurora. The whole kingdom turns out of the celebration. Even the pixels. They come to bestow their gifts upon the baby. Nordgrass gives her the gift of beauty. Flight grants her the gift of happiness. Before this last can grant Aurora her gift, a great wind blows through the hall. Everybody is stunned when Maleficent, donning her trademark crown and black robes, comes strolling in, grinning sincerely. She admits to being surprised at not receiving an invitation, claims not be often. She too brings a gift. She faces the whole kingdom and announces that while the princess will indeed grow in grace and beauty, she will be cursed when she sunsets on her 16th birthday. She will break her figure on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into an eternal sleep. However, Maleficent says his curse can be broken by true love's kiss, and no power on earth can undo this. She leaves and sets up a bunch of thorned trees surrounding the moors to keep Stefan Mans out. Stefan orders all his men to find every spinning wheel in the kingdom and have them taken apart and burned. He also orders the pixies to take Aurora away so they may hide her in a cottage and the woods. The pixies take human-like forms to blend in. Maleficent and Devil still find them in the cottage. However, Maleficent creeps up by the window where the baby is and tries to frighten it. But the baby merely giggles. Maleficent dryly tells Aurora she hates her and calls her beastie. Over time, Maleficent and Devil keep their watch over Aurora. As she grows, Maleficent also enjoys messaging around with the pixels as they try or not to take off Aurora. While the baby cries at night, Devil brings her a flower with water for her to drink. While the pixies just sleep, the child later played by Vivian, Julie Pitt, chase after a butterfly and nearby vendors over a cliff, but Maleficent uses her magic to have some branches catch her. Growing more paranoid, Stefan orders like men to storm the moors and kill Maleficent. They launch fireballs at the thorn trees, but Maleficent only makes them grow taller. Angered at the failure of his man, Stefan demands to see the iron makers. Aurora, now played by Elle Fanning, grows into a beautiful young lady. Nearing her 16th birthday, she happens upon the moors one evening and Maleficent puts her to sleep. While Stefan's men continue their hunt for Maleficent, they think they see her when they see Aurora walking around, so they dismiss her as a peasant girl. Maleficent turns the devil into a wolf who scares the men away. They take Aurora Creeper into the moors. When she awakens, enchanted by all the beauty and the creatures she sees Maleficent and thinks she is her fairy godmother. Having recognized her and Devil since childhood, Devil takes his human form and greets the princess. Maleficent puts her to sleep again and lets her sleep in her cottage. Realizing she cares for the girl, she tries to revoke the curse, but because she made it so that no power to art can undo it, she fails. Devil, knowing that Maleficent has changed her feeling towards Aurora, says that true love's kiss can still break the spell. But Maleficent says She cursed her. That why? Because there is no such thing. Stefan sits in his chamber, staring at Maleficent's wings as they are trapped in a glass cabinet. One of his men in comes to hell that the queen is trying and may not make it through the night. Stefan only concerns himself with Maleficent's impending arrivals. Maleficent sits with Aurora in the morning, telling her that there is an evil in the world that she may not be able to protect her from. The princess is happy, where is and plans to tell the pixels whom she believes are her aunts that she wishes to stay in the moors while she'll stay in the woods. She comes across a handsome Princess Phillips. He sees her and mesmerized by her beauty, but their interaction is brief. Aurora returns to the pixels, who are trying to make her a cake for her birthday. She announced that she wants to say, "Let's eat sleep," and Aurora Fathers is expecting to see her the day after her birthday, despite previously telling the girl that her parents died. They also cursed. Aurora returns to the Maleficent and asks if she is true. She admits that she is the treated fairy not Aurora was once told about. Now frightened by her, Aurora flees and returns to the kingdom. Aurora is taken to Stefan as he is planning his strategy for fighting Maleficent. She greets her father with a huge and with a hug, and although he is realized as if for fine, she orders that she be looked in her room for protection. On the day Aurora's birthday, the princess grows restless and has a discomfort on her finger. She then hears a voice calling her name. She goes through the walls after it is opened by a handmaiden, and she finds herself in a dragon where destroyed spinning wheels are. Back in the moors, Maleficent realizing what day is it, and then finds Phillips as her rides through the woods. She puts him into the sleep and turns Devil into a horse so that Phillips with his horse can ride to the kingdom. As the sun begins to set, as they race to the castle, Aurora notices the car spinning wheel forming. She walking and prickle her finger on the spindle, drawing some blood. Her eyes shut and she collapses to the floor. Maleficent senses she is too late. The handmaiden finds Aurora and brings her to her room, where she rests. Stefan is both angered, and distressed over this, blaming the pixels for their failure to protect Aurora. He swears fatal away and leaves. Meanwhile, Maleficent and Devil sneak into kingdom with the until unconscious Philip to break the spell. They draw Philip outside Aurora's room and pixel her his body hit the floor. He wakes up and he is brought in after introducing himself as the prince. The pixies push him to the Aurora's besides so he can give her true love's kiss. Although he attracted to Aurora, his kiss is not enough to wake up her. Maleficent and Devil watch this state sadly, and Philip leaves. Maleficent enters Aurora's room and stands by her bed, apologizing to her for what she has done and ensures that no one harm will come to her as sleeps. She kisses the girl's forehead and turns to leave. When Aurora's open eye, fairy godmother, she says. Bestie Maleficent responds. Aurora decides that she still wants to stay in the moors, and Maleficent begins to guide her out. One of the guards goes to tell Stefan that Maleficent has been spotted. They all ambush her in the hall by dropping an iron on her. The soldiers run and attack her until she transforms Devil into a large dragon. Devil breathes fire at the guards while Maleficent tells Aurora to run. Devil pulls the net of Maleficent, but the guards surround her with their soldier shields. Stephen, entirely dressed in his arms, comes to face his former love for the last time. Meanwhile, Aurora comes by the room with the Maleficent wings, which starts to snowflake. She pushes the cabinet over and breaks it, setting them free before Stephen King can strike fatal blow. So Maleficent, the wings reach her back and reattach themselves to her. She begins to fly away until Stephen throws a chain at her leg and holds on. She flies out the window, pulling Stephen with her. They fall into a tower, and Maleficent throws Stephen against her wall, declaring it's over. Not satisfied, Stephen jumps on Maleficent, throwing them both off the tower. She takes flight again, dropping Stephen in the process. He falls, he's dead, and Maleficent stands by his body and last time. A while later, Maleficent has found peace in her heart and undoes the dark magic in the moors, restoring it to the former beauty. Aurora is crowned queen of both the human kingdom and the moors, with Philip coming to the moors to join other creatures in celebration. The narrator finishes the story by revealing that she is Aurora, as they once called her Sleeping Beauty. She adds that in the end, it took one who bought a hero and a villain to make things right, and her name was Maleficent. The film ends with Maleficent and Devil flying high over the moors and through the clouds. Joker bested Maleficent in North America. Angelina Jolie's Mistress of Evil remained victorious at the international box office. Disney's Maleficent Mistress of Evil collected an other $64.3 million from 56 foreign territories, boosting its overseas haul to $28 million. Globally, the dark fantasy is equal to nearing $300 million mark, with ticket sales currently at $93 million. Maleficent, which cost $185 million to produce, has disappointed at the domestic box office but continues to see far better results abroad. The follow-up to 2014, Maleficent had the biggest returns in China with $42 million, followed by Russia with $21.2 million, Mexico with $15.1 million, and Brazil with $10.1 million. Meanwhile, Warner Bros. Joker continues its impressive box office streak, declining just 38% and generated $47 million in 79 markets. Those receipts bring Joker to a huge $571.5 million overseas and $849.1 million globally. Joaquin Phoenix's clearly take on the Batman Valiant set numerous records and is now the highest grossing R-rated film ever, both internationally and globally. It also ranks as the third biggest DC film to date. Outside of North America, top earning territories include the United Kingdom $57.6 million, Mexico $39.8 million, Korea $35.1 million, and Japan $32.8 million. Among new releases, Terminator Dark Fate launched with $12.8 million from 10 international markets. Disney via Fox as releasing the film internationally aside from China, while Paramount is distributing the film domestically. The latest Terminator adventure, directed by Tim Miller and starring Linda Hamilton, opens in the UK $3.8 million, France $3.1 million, Thailand $1.5 million, Germany $1.4 million, and Malaysia $1.1 million. The sixth installment in the Terminator series and first in almost 30 years to have franchise creator James Cameron on board debuts next weekend in North America, where it is expected over $40 million. Horror thriller Countdown also launched this weekend in 16 territories, bringing in $1.7 million. The PG-13 movie kicked off in North America with $9 million for a global start of $10.7 million. Also, new handful of multipixels, Paramount's Gemini Man added murder $12.7 million from 60 markets. Sci-fi thriller starting with Smith surpassed 100 million overseas and has earned 104.9 million dollars. Bow his weekend in Taiwan with 1.9 million dollar, Japan with 1.8 million dollar, and Poland 170,000 million dollar. Holders, including the Adams family, pulled in $10.5 this weekend from 18 markets, taking ticket sales to 11.2 million overseas and $83.8 million worldwide. Universal is distributing the movie overseas, while United Artists releasing the MGM are spreading North America markets. Elsewhere, Sony's Zombieland Double Tap generated $9 million from 40 international markets for an international tally of $16.6 million. Universal's Abominable also brought in $9 million, boosting overseas revenue to $87.8 million. Returned to the silver screen after a near 4-year absence and hit around running. Walt Disney Maleficent as a darker reimagining the Sleeping Beauty story with the emphasis on the conflict villain debuted over the weekend with a terrific $69.4 million from, including $6.7 million in IMAX alone. That sum included $4.2 million in Thursday's showings. This is a bit below the $79 million debut weekend for Sam Raimi's Ozzy, the Great and Powerful. It's obviously smaller than the $116 million weekend debut of Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland back in March 2010, which was a record for a non-sequel at the time, but absolutely no one was expecting similar number for the Julie's vehicle. In terms of weekend multipliers, it scored a $24.2 million opening day, which means the Jolie vehicle had a 2.89x, almost identical to Johnny Depp fantasy over its first Sunday debut. This is easily Angelina Jolie's biggest opening weekend ever, ahead of the respective $50 million debuts of Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Wanted, and another example of why movie stars will still matter. This is a perfect Star Plus concept package as you could imagine, with cinema's most larger than life female movie star playing one of Disney's most iconic villains. Angelina Jolie in the third one gets you an $18 million weekend. Maleficent starting pretty much anyone else gets you $50 million at best. But putting Jolie in the role gets this you the traffic debut. The $180 million fairy tale revamp has also earned $100.6 million overseas, including $2 million in IMAX alone since opening on Wednesday in 35 territories, including Russia, Germany, Australia, the UK, Korea, and Brazil. That gives the film a $170 million global debut. How high it flies is a question of how well it plays with the kids. The film is less violent and scary than the trailer might make you believe, but it's far grimmer and darker picture than the marketing indicates. I am perhaps a little pissed as my daughter did not like the film after months of looking forward to it. But I can't presume that my kid speaks of everyone else. Let's presume that the film sounds and somewhat scotched up like construction does not really affect word of mouth either way. For the record, show White and the Huntsman had a 2.6x weekend to domestic final multiplier $155, 50 million. Alice in Wonderland had a 2.86x multiplier, $384 by $160 million, while The Great and Powerful had a 2.96x, $235 million by $79 million. So going off those relative comparisons, Maleficent is looking to domestic total of between 193 million, and I am inclined to presume it will act closer to Snow White and the Huntsman, considering the similar release date and darker content. But I also imagine that if I gets everywhere near $200 million domestic, that it will be dragged over the finish line one way or another, argue by joining the order to close yet so far blockbuster Amazing Spider-Man 2, Godzilla, X-Men, Days of Future Past. Nonetheless, the debut shows the sheer power of the Walt Disney brand as well as the value of old school star power. And yes, because this can't be said enough, it's indeed it matters when an explicitly female-centric picture opens on the same relative scale as conventional male and centric blockbuster. The film played 60% female, 51% over 25 and 35% treaty. The other major opener was frankly a disappointment, said McFarlane's A Million Ways to Die in the West debuted with $16.7 million over its debut weekend. I honestly thought a few months ago that this star-studded Charlize Theron, Liam Neeson, Amanda Seyfried, Sarah Silverman, Neil Patrick Harris would be solid moneymaker for Universal as a division of Comcast Corporation. I won't lose money since it's only cost $40 million, but it is won't buy massive with either. No, absolutely no one is in the right mind. She expecting an opening on par with that $54 million or neighbor $49 million, but this is just over to slightly underwhelming considering the combined drawing power of its cast. The film played 55% male and 72% over 25. The picture also earned $10.3 million in 21 overseas markets. While I don't think the film quite works, it's important that McFarlane be praised rather than condemned for stepping outside of his safe zone, especially as he conscience to his story typical fan base. The vulgar humor is a big part of why the film does not work. Once again, I would argue this proves the values of movie stars. As a big part of their success was Mark Wahlberg's drawing power, along with obviously the more easily marketable concept 2 years ago. A man's childhood teddy bear come alive and new lives, and him the sports vulgarities is as easier as than a Western comedy. Charlie's Theron is an added value element while Liam Neeson is gold as an action lead, but really no one else in the cast can be considered box office. McFarlane is a draw, but casting a live-action movie star would have helped the film both ethically and commercially. Western are not traditionally big box office, and Western comedies are all too rare. Often, the last successful live-action Western comedy that comes to mind in the Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster vehicle Maverick from literally 20 years ago. You might count Shanghai Noon in 2000 and Shanghai Nights in 2003. That traffic Jackie Chan on Wilson series as much about action as comedy. So it is disappointing but not shocking that this one did not break out. Still, once again, Universal, which distributed the media rights, Capital Fuji put poor production and bluegrass film production picture, is not risking too much because there is not much money on the line. McFarlane has tattoo on top for next summer, which is arguably by surefire hit. I wish it were a better movie, but I think it's worthwhile The Mac France has started using this capital for more personal choices like this and Fox successful comes revamp. In Holdover news, X-Men Days of Future Past and $32.5 million on its second weekend, down 64 from last weekend, $90 Friday to Sunday debut. That's right, in the line with the franchise overall, compared to the 66% Friday to Friday drop for X-Men, The Last Stand, $102 by $35, 69% drop X-Men Origins worldwide $85 million by $26 million. The 68% drops 40 worldwide $53 million by $21 million. The 65 drop for X-Men $54 million by $23 million. The 64% drop for X-Men First Class $55 million by $24 million. The 60% drop for X2 $85 million by $40 million. The 20th Century Fox franchise installment now has $162 million domestic. The 7th X-Men films is currently running around 80% behind of X-Men. The Last Stand, which means offset pattern, continues. It will end up to $218 million. It will be second biggest in the series, but pretty much in the middle when adjusted for inflation and a traded bump. The bad news is that this X-Men installment is just as front-loaded as the other installment in America. The good news is that its estimated global come up $500 million worldwide as of today. Its somewhat disappointing domestic numbers may be almost irrelevant. The film has already surpassed the worldwide tours of X-Men to $96 million by X-Men First Class $353 million and X-Men Origin $373 million. X2 X-Men United $407 million. The Wolverine $412 million and X-Men The Last Stand $459 million. Not far behind. This one cost of Fox, our division of 21st Century Fox included. Quite a bit of money, well over $200 million, and with the hopes of putting the X-Men series on the same level as the same Marvel Studios film. In terms of worldwide total and the money is no matter where it comes from. It would seem that they have succeeded. I will officially stop being picky about the film's domestic number for at least this next week or so. Also not exactly holding all the well is Godzilla, which earned $12.25 million on its third weekend, a drop of 60% from last weekend. Warner Bros. $165 million Monster Mash has earned $174 million domestic. This one will get to $100 million domestic, but not too much more than that. Great Adverse franchise revival has earned $374 million worldwide, so it will surely end up at least breaking even before its post-theatrical life. The good news is that the film does not open in China and Japan until the middle of next month. So this picture worldwide box office is not close to being written yet. The question is that if the film ends up physically peaking on opening weekend, so what extent should we give credit to director Edwards who got the Star Wars spin-off kick-off of the film debut as opposed to Warner Bros. Marketing? That's for another day. Blended up dropped into okay 41% from last Friday as the Adam Sandler Drew Barrymore romantic comedy earned just $80.4 million last night for a $29.6 million cum. This Warner Bros. Division of Time Warner include release only cost $45 million to produce, but if may not even make they much in the States. Now Adam movies often take hard second weekend drops before leveling off for the next month as the concessions choice. But when you started with just $14.2 million for the opening weekend, that's little consolation. In other comedy news, Neighbors earned another $7.7 million Or it's what weekend. Give the Seth Roger, Rose Byrne, Zac Efron comedy a rebust. $182 million domestic cum. The $18 million comedy grossed $200 million worldwide this weekend and he has now earned $27 million globally. $1 million arm officially passed its $25 million budget in America and now sits with $28 million, while the other woman should cross $80 million domestic. An Amazing Spider-Man to earn another $3.775 million over its sixth weekend, 52% for a $192.73 million domestic cum. This film has crossed $690 million worldwide has weekend, which means it should cross $700 million within the next week or two. Of note, the sequel has now earned 14 47.9 million overseas, surpassing the 49.5 million foreign total of The Amazing Spider-Man. It's also the dropping gossip film of 2014 in the terms of overseas receipts. Heaven in for Real earned another $77.5K for the weekend, 62%, and it brought its cum up to $87.98 million, while Mom's Night Out earned $300K, minus 61%, and has new grossed $9.6 million. John Favreau Chief is now playing on 67% screen and earned $2 million, minus 11% for a $7 million cum. It's not terrible, but it's also about half what a film like this could have managed on opening weekend with the conventional wide release has an decade. That's it for this weekend. Join us next time for when Warner Bros. Debuts the terrific Tom Cruise actioner Edge of Tomorrow. I don't know that one's overseas debut number chat saved its then $1.m million on 79 IMAX screens, while 20th Century Fox drops the much buzzle about seeing its tomorrow. Shailene Woodley cancer-stricken romantic drama, The Fault in Our Stars in the meantime, enjoy the domestic top 10 list courtesy of Rantrack. Maleficent cast a spell at the Friday box office to nab $24.2 million stateside. Disney Angelina Jolie starter look to make magic this weekend to open as $68 million. If the estimate pans out, Maleficent will mark the highest grossing live-action debut for Jolie, miles ahead of Wanted, which bowed to $50.9 million in 2008. Jolie is proving that her star power has not waned after 4 years away from the camera and two back-to-back Miss Fry's 2010 Salt and the Tourist. However, was less enhancing in his first training role. Universal's A Million Ways Die in the West launched to $6.1 million. Maleficent is a live-action retelling of Sleeping Beauty. Comes on the heels of several other Disney reimagining last year's was the Great and Powerful, bowed to $79.1 million, and 2010 Alice in the Wonderland premiered to $1,600 million. The fantasy adventure won't match these debuts as the peaks launched in the less crowded month of March. Robert Stromberg, the production designer of Ozzy and Alice, made his directional about with Maleficent. The pick is already doing strong business overseas. Maleficent opened to $2.5 million in the UK and Ireland on Wednesday, outperforming Captain America, the Winter Soldier's first day, and more than doubling Ozzy and Snow White and Huntsman's debuts. Maleficent reeled in $21 million from 35 markets, including Russia, Germany, Australia, and Brazil during its first 2 days, and will slowly expand to 13,011 theaters across 46 countries. The $180 million blockbuster, which co-stars Elle Fanning, will need to haul about $500 million worldwide to make a sizable impact. Despite mixed review, 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, its promises steady hold as one of few. Maleficent reeled in $21 million from 35 markets, including Russia, Germany, Australia, and Brazil. Universal, which co-financed the $40 million film The Media Rights Capital, also distributed Mac Front's last movie. The rated comedy landed stateside with an outstanding $54.4 in 2012 and went on to make $218.8 million, $549.4 worldwide. Meanwhile, Fox's X-Men Days of Future Past is still doing solid business after dominating the box office. One summer release exceeded expectations at the box office this weekend, while another disappointed. In at number 1 is Maleficent Read or Review, with a massive $70 million total. Disney latest live action, reimagining of a beloved story tale. In this case, Sleeping Beauty is yet another big success story for the studio. Granted, Maleficent opening is below previous Disney release like Ozzy the Great and Powerful, $79 million, and Alice in Wonderland, but the film should be very well for itself during the box office run. Internationally, Maleficent grossed $100 million, which puts it on a better pace than last year's Ozzy when all is said and done. We expect Maleficent to finish somewhere in the $500 million range in terms of worldwide grosses. X-Men Days of Future Past is the number 2 film with $32.6 million, which brings its domestic total up $162 million. Although the star-studded blockbuster dropped 64% from last weekend, it's still doing better than most as far as summer releasing go. The film won't catch the beginning 2014 Champs Lego movie and Captain America 2, but it should be somewhere in the top of 10 then all is said and done. Overseas, however, Days of Future Past is king, grossing $388 million so far, which is the best international total for any X-Men film. Combined with its domestic total, X-Men Days of Future Past is up to $500 million worldwide. The Seth MacFarlane-led comedy A Million Ways to Die in the West, Read or Review, opened in the number 3 spot with a disappointing $17 million. That's much lower than MacFarlane's freshman debut, the $54 million, and slightly below a few notable summer comedy flops. In other words, we don't expect MacFarlane will be given any more starring roles anytime soon. In fact, maybe it's best the Family Guy creators stick to voice acting. In at number 4 is Godzilla with $12.2 million. The King of the Monsters once again took a steep dive, 60%, but has nonetheless grossed $174 million domestic, although the film has yet to hit the Chinese or Japanese markets. Godzilla also is doing very well overseas. Thus far, the film has made $200 million internationally for a worldwide total $374 million, rounding out the top of the 5 blended with $84 million, now at $29 million. The Adam Sandler comedy is well below the comedian's most recent release and will barely eclipse its $40 million budget when all is said and done. The number 6 film this weekend, Neighbor, with $7.7 million, although A Million Ways was supposed to take almost all of Neighbor's audience. The film's failure likely helped this one hold on a recent market share. Neighbor has grossed $128 million after 4 weeks. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the number 7 film with $3.77 million, while most of the film's box office damage is done. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has done very well for itself over the past 5 weeks. Domestically, the film has grossed $192 million, which is good enough for number 3 on this year's top grossers list. And internationally, SCM2 has acquired $497 million for a worldwide total of $690 million. In ad number in ad number 8 is million dollar arm with $3.7 million. The John Hamm led sports drama has done decent business considering the competition but is far from a success. Thus far, the film has grossed $28 million. Coming in at number 9 is Chief. Read our review with $2 million. John Favreau's latest has continued a successful expansion, is limited release and is now up to $6 million. Rounding out to top of 10 is The Other Woman with $1.4 million. Fox's female-focused comedy has now doubled its $40 million budget with $81 million earned over 6 weeks. Outside the top 10, Tom Cruise's Edge of Tomorrow opened with $20 million in 28 international markets over the weekend. Not great, but the film expands to the more lucrative overseas market as well as North America next weekend. These are only weekend box office estimates based on Friday and Saturday tickets sales coupled with adjusted expectations from Sunday. Official weekend box office results will be released on Monday, June 2nd, at which time we will update this post with any charges. The Sleeping Beauty Reef Maleficent is another overproduced, spectacular release into a world that has too many. It has a phantom menace, landscapes and creatures, a bombastic and memorable score, and is sorts of chaotic image and fast-cutting that signify a lack of true filmmaking imagination. It is true a movie made by a committee. Its direction is credit to Robert Stromberg, a long-time production designer, and its script to beauty. Maleficent is an and other overproduced summer particular, released into a world that has too many. It has subvention, minac, landscape and creatures, a bombastic and immortal score, and the sorts of chaotic image and fast-cutting that signify a lack of true filmmaking imagination. Is it true a movie made by committee? Its direction is credit to Robert Stromberg, a long-time production designer, and its script to beauty and based scribe Linda Wolverton. But there have been reports of many studio-imposed rewrites and reshoots by director Johan Hancock, the Rocky. But it's powerful anyway. Is the title character, a misunderstood and wrong woman, Angelina Jolie, has makeup enhanced cheekbones that could be registered as lethal weapons. Put them together with her very cobalt eyes and ruby lips, and the wings and horns what the character sports early in the picture, and you have got an image of female otherness as Aries as Scarlett Johansson wading into black go in under the skin. The film story is an example of what the Guardian's films criticize Peter Bradshaw calls that emerging post-Vic genre, the revisionist backstory fairy tale, but its offering it has a primordial edge that me filmmaking can't blunt. There are moments in the Maleficent that are profoundly disturbing in the way that ancient myths and grim fairy tales are disturbing. They strike to the heart of human experience and create the kind of memories that young children, young girls particularly, will obsess over because on some level they know, even without the benefit of adult experience, that the film is telling them a horrible sort of truth. And at this point, I should give you the opportunity to step away from the review, see the film based on the above description, and read the rest later to see if you agree. Fair enough, good. The tale begins with a flashback to Maleficent as a young girl fairy, befriending a farm boy who snuck into her forest on a mission of thievery. They grow close and continue to see each other even after the king of a human stronghold on the outskirts of the forest tries to invade Maleficent domain and then watches in shock as the heroine and her three warriors place waste to his army. As teenager, the fairy had a human share a shell true love first kiss in the Disney parallels. He stops coming around, breaking the girl's heart. Years later, now adult Stefan overhaps the now drawing king, promising his realm to anyone who can kill Maleficent, and it's here that we had to into the first of the film magnificently disturbing sequences. I have read reviews complaining that we don't know enough about the Maleficent and Stefan's personalities, much less the details of their relationship, which means the Stefan's betrayal comes out of nowhere and so does not make dramatic sense. This is fair description or complaint, but to me, the lack of development make the twist feel more likely something that might happen in a fairy tale, not a clean, scrabbled Disney fairy tales in which every plot twist in clearly, but an anxious story that kids might listen to, rapt and horrified, then interrupt to ask, by way, would the boy do that to something he loved? Whereupon the adult storyteller would explain that sometimes people do cruel things to people they love because they want things. In any event, we know that really going in on the scene. After snuggling with Maleficent on a hilltop, Stefan gives her a drink laced with a sleeping potion, prepares to murder her after she is passed out, then has a failure of nerve. He slashes off her wings instead and brings them to the king as proof that he did as promised. It's symbolic assault with sexual overtones, especially an attack that occurs after a woman has passed out. Maleficent does not just lose her wings, they are stripped from her against her will. The attack is also a maiming of figurement that, in this context, feel like a gender-specific physical massage drawn from a continuum that includes everything from the punitive hacking of a woman's long hair to not long before the film was not shot. It's hard to imagine her shooting his sequence and not putting in the personal context. The scene of Maleficent walking up a hilltop with huge scare in her back, the weeping with rage, is the most traumatizing image I have seen in a Hollywood fairy tale since the Christ-like sacrifice of Aslan in 2005. The Chronicle of Narnia, The Lion, The Witch and the Wardrobe. It's a track so deep and its impact resonates far as long after that it makes the film's numerous missteps seem less like deal breakers than irritants. The assault transforms Maleficent from an unbased heroine into an anti-heroine, a straight-up bad guy, as far as the story's terrified humans are concerned, and drops Disney vanilla 1959 film into a conflicted revenge story with an unmistakable feminist undertone. It's the deepest betrayal imaginable. Every subsequent action Maleficent takes, including casting a spell on Stefan's daughter Aurora, played as a teen by Elle Fanning, that will send her into a coma at age 16 after a finger prick by a spinning wheel needle, is driven by the trauma of that betrayal. The film has a long way to go after that, plot-wise. I mean, at a sleek 98 minutes, this is a rare summer blockbuster that as these are the typical cartoon feature, and while Maleficent never rises to the peak of power that it attains when the heroines awake without her wings, and its action sequences, ostentation, creature displays are murky, CGI soap. It keeps the audience unbalanced in a good way. There's wasted motion in the plotting, and therefore a fair amount of confusion in how this script spell out what Maleficent can and can't do. If she can turn a raven into a male sidekick, played by Sam Riley, with a wave of her hand and create a fire-breathing dragon with similar ease later on, why does not she just unleash an army of monsters on the kingdom and save herself a lot of brother, but we always know what's at stake of her. We know where hears, here is at. Despite winning a slew of deserved awards for early performance, Jolie has never gotten the credit she deserves both as an old-fashioned glamorous movie star and a skilled, thoughtful actress. This part fuses both sides for her talent. Her mesmerizing stillness makes us pay closer attention to Maleficent's every word and gesture than the film's screenplay deserves. We feel close to Maleficent even when she is doing in Ice Mask of Death. Expressions showcase in thriller and in still. We feel her conflicted feelings as she pretends to be the young Aurora godmother, playing a role and then slowly becoming that role. Just as we felt her rage at being violated and multi-talented, and her need to make the human kingdom, whose representative are at male, pay for what was in its name. I was looking forward to seeing Angelina Jolie play a Disney villain. That's not Maleficent. Obviously, that what she's asked to do is still fascinating. The character starts out good, turned bad of good reason. That tries to right a wrong she committed in the name of righting wrong. This is a film of Hollywood storytelling cliques, including the Eat Your Cake and Have It Too villain that lets the heroine seem noble while still satisfying the audience bloodlust. But it's also a film risen at gestures and dream logic, in which ancient and contemporary predicaments jostle against each other, romantic betrayal or sexual assault, and their psychological aftermath. The fundamental difference between male and female minds, the way that particular culture fuses women's sense of self-worth to their bodies, even the tangible maternal impulses that independent single women who never wanted kids might experience when they have to care for a child. The movie is a mess, but it's niche mess. It has weight, it matters years from now. You'll hear teenagers or college students burning over having seen it as child and love sleep over it, and its title will have acquired three more words plus punctuation. Oh my god, Maleficent, now almost midway through the year 2014, seems unlikely to produce many more usual, arresting, brilliantly designed stone college kid friendly pieces of eye candy than Disney's Maleficent. As far as revisionists take on the travelist of the iconic Sleeping Beauty, Violences, however, it falls far short of something an imaginative fan fiction. Subscribe, let alone abuse role models Johan Gardner or Georgie Maguire might have crafted from the material uncertain of tone and bearing visible scaring. One imagines were multiple rewrites. The film fails to be probed the psychology of its subject or set up a satisfying alternate history, but it surely is nice to look at the 97 minutes boasting an impressive and impeccable costumed Angelina Jolie in the title role. It called to prove a solid global moneymaker and the merchandise minter of the Mice House. Of the four fractured fairy tales produced by Joe wrote The Great Powerful, Alice in the Wonderland, Snow White and the Huntsman, Maleficent is the one that hews closest to its source material, and it's not always clear whether this help or handles. Directed by first-time Helmer Robert Stromberg from a script credit to Beauty and the Beast. Scribe Linda Woolverton. The film has a clever enough big picture taken on the Sleeping Beauty tale, yet its Potter and Snage as tries construct a coherent emotional arc and its reference point from the 1959 animated original feel more beautiful that inspired. Opening with storybook themed voiceover narration, Maleficent sketches a realm of two rival kingdoms, not Stephens and Hubbards, but rather the world of humans and the outlying moors, which we home to fairies, trolls, and imposing wicker men. dating around the moors like a sort of saucer-eyed Tinkerbell is the winged young fairy Maleficent, Isabelle Mole, who struck up an unlikely friendship and later romance with trespassing human farmhand named Stephen Michael Higgins. Alas, their love is not to be. As a poorly explained, her breaks out between the two kingdoms a year later, and the adult Stephen Shelton Copley betrays Maleficent by drugging her and cutting off her wings, all in the name of a job promotion. To be fair, going from a farm boy to king is one of Hella's jump up the employment ladder. Now a woman, scoured and shorn, Maleficent fashions a magical staff from a twig, dons a black helmet, and takes memorable revenge on Stephen's infant daughter Aurora. Granted the proper grace notes and breathing room, this sequence or events could have provided more than enough material for a dark stand-alone prequel indeed. It Godzilla's dreadful features to complete a very similar character arc for Anakin Skywalker. However, Maleficent is only just now getting started, and the next two thirds of the film see our erstwhile anti-hero hiding in the bushes outside Aurora's cabin in the woods, serving as an unlikely fairy godmother, the rethinking her cards, while Aurora's bumbling guardians, Leslie Manuel Imelda Stanton, Jono prove entirely incomplete babysitters. Already a double Oscar winner for his work as an art director, Stromberg knows how to visualize a scene and exactly where to place the camera. But storytelling requires different muscles, and the film often lurches where it's out to be flawed, rarely clutching into the proper rhythm. It's not until roughly halfway throughout the film, for example, the Maleficent cracks her first joke, which is so cute out of the character that it initially sounds like a blooper. While the film avoids the 2 hour plus plot of Ozzy and the Huntsman, this is a story that would actually benefit from some slow paced indulgence or at least better instincts for movie to makers. For example, an expensive looking yet utterly inconsequential battle sequence plotted into the middle of the peak sees Maleficent neutralize a squadron of nameless soldiers with neither motivation nor consequence, but the scenes in which she bonds with the 16-year-old Aurora, ostensibly the most important emotionally weighty relationship in the film, feel rough and rushed, while funning Aurora is relegated to sporting role, and the Brenton Prince Philip's a glorified cameo. Prince Philip's a glorified cameo. Jolie is perfectly cast in the lead and does excellent work despite substantial physical constraints. She spends the entire film wearing a prosthetic nose, cheeks, teeth, and ears, with moon-sized contact lenses and a bulky set of horns stop her head. Master makeup magician Ike Baker is in stellar from here. Her movements are often strictly delicated by now how best to frame has she has few lines that are not delivered as monologue, and her most frequent co-stars are delightfully rendered creatures that she managed to come onto screen as well as she does despite of all this is rather remarkable. It's also a performance that breaks for flourishes of high camp that the film rarely allows, where Jolie is let loose to really bear her fangs, such as her nearly word-of-word recreation Maleficent. First seen from the Disney original, she stripped the paint from the walls. Her primary deviation from the script her offers a speak at the kind of unhygiened delight the story could have been in braver hands as she forces Stephen to his knees and hisses, "I like you beginning, do it again." I like a proper deeper than dominatrix, yet one is much more likely to see her wordlessly glowing from behind trees and palace walls, as to just another finely crafted visual effect. As for the actual effect themselves, the level of craft on display here is exquisite. From the sweeping shots around Stephen's castles to the lava lamp like floral arrangements that Maleficent's lair the film's armies of art directors, customers, and effect techniques aim of the speculator with every shot and nail it with impressive consistency. Musically, James Newton Hall's sweeping score located in a nice suite, sports somewhere between Eric Norgold and Danny Elfman, and Lana Del Rey's got her take on the Sleeping Beauty. So, Topper, Once Upon a Dream, makes for a fighting closer. What turns someone evil, what is hero, and what is villain? These are the questions Maleficent asks his audience. Maleficent is a film about a vengeful fairy who turned psycho after her romance went south with a peasant human. She becomes hateful and stayed inside the woods, while the peasant married a princess and ruled the kingdom. After a while, they have a daughter, Princess Aurora, while the whole kingdom rejoices for their new princess. Maleficent crashed the pretty and put a curse on the newborn. However, little did Maleficent know that this baby girl holds the key to their land's peace and her own curse. Director Robert Stromberg, who previously worked as a special effects artist, to know his tech stuff. His direction is actually good for a first timer. While the movie looked gorgeous, the editing can appear disconnected at the time. It jumps hastily without really developing the characters. Albeit that all Maleficent is nothing short, if not a gothic lore. The clear-cut cinematography by Dean Smeller and amazing background score by James Angelina Jolie, oh how I have missed your presence upon my computer screen. Playing the role as the weak fairy, Mr. Jolie Pitt looked as she is having a fun time throughout like movie. Whenever she is on screen, it's hard not to love her every moves and gestures. I guess this was the same reason why Angelina Jolie chose to star in the movie after a 4 years gap. I think Elle Fanning's performance as Princess Aurora is not bad either, but she is second tier to Maleficent. While the direction is adequate, the script by the great Linda Woolverton felt one-sided. We focus entirely on Maleficent that little time was put for another characters. Sherlock Copley's King Stephen is my biggest concern. I understand his character is bad because he is greedy, but it feels rushed and forced in the end. But this is a Disney movie and we will need a villain. Maleficent also surprised me with this feminism subtext. I mean, it's about time we have multi-layered female character, whether it's adapted from children's book or other sources. Right, I personally love the twist in the classic True Love's Kiss, where it sends a loud and clear message to the audience that love is love, no matter where it comes from. Despite my slight complaints, in the end Maleficent puts an entertaining twist to the iconic Disney character, and that's not a bad thing at all. When the reviews begins to materialize for Maleficent, when it was out in the cinema, I was disappointed to see many of them were negative, claiming the film to be sterile over substance and just not very good. I waited it out and picked the Blu-ray after recently finally sitting down, ignoring the words of numerous poor reviews I have read to make my own mind up about this I live action movie based on the villain character for Sleeping Beauty. A Disney produced live action film with a big budget and a high profit cast could go either way, so I was ready for anything. Directed by Robert Stromberg, his first foray into film directing, Stromberg's previous work in film belonged to visual effect roles, including work on major motion pictures like Life of Pi, Shutter Island, Payne's Labyrinth, television work on shows such as Game of Thrones, and so much more. The visual magnificence of this film can be attributed to this, with Stromberg obviously having a passion and history in visualization of worlds. That is something I will say before I even go into the review properly. Maleficent look fantastic. The story is not the deepest one is the world, but I was happy with it to be a degree. It was easygoing and had enough about it to hold my attention on a Saturday evening after a busy day. A lovely young fairy named Maleficent lives a life of beauty and happiness in breast surrounded by fantastic creatures. A lovely young fairy named Maleficent lives a life of beauty and happiness in a forest surrounded by fantastical creatures, blossoming trees, a bright plant life, and everything else you would expect to see it in idyllic woodland. She keeps the land on the straight and narrow, but when she is betrayed by a boy named Stefan, whom she thought was her kinder spirit, her wings are cut off at the wishes of a king. When the king ideas Stefan is named his successor, and he sits proud on his throne. Meanwhile, Maleficent, once pure of heart, is embittered and angry at the act of evil committed by man upon her, and she was revenged. She takes the kingdom and puts a curse on the king's daughter. Aurora dad says that by the time she turns 16, the will prick her finger on a spinning wheel and will fall into an external asleep. One only broken by true love's kiss, something Maleficent believes does not exist as Aurora grew up. Maleficent watched her being raised by three fairies in a forest hideaway. The questions are asked of, will Aurora suffer that fate plan upon her? Maleficent is a fairy tale in the truest form of the word. It is about a fairy, one lone fairy whose heartbreak allows bitterness to rule her until protecting and murdering a young girl teaches her to love again, for true love does conquer all. I love the parallels to the original Disney Sleeping Beauty, the costuming, the casting, the bumbling three fairies, the lines from the old film, the power on jealous voice and presence. Elle Fanning, favorite lovely of the fashion duo, Rodgers and no longer known as Dakota sister, stepped easily into the sweet princess Aurora role. The film is perhaps a tribute to the selfless love of surrogate mothers or mothers' hearts. Perhaps this was the carrot Jan glad before Julie, who was allowed to have all of her children in the film. Most plays camels, but her little wife got to play Tiny Aurora. Either way, it's not inverted villain sort story. Maleficent is Disney despicable. The villain is not cruel, just misunderstood. My mother always said we all have two dogs inside us. The one that wins is the one we feed the most. I have been fascinated by the concept of writing the villain lately. A study of the film 310 to Yoma 2001 offered much insight in the director's commentary. James Mangold discussed the role of the villain as hero in their version of the story. They are equally as cause-driven. They share a part with the hero, but not the identical vehicle. A villain must believe that he or she is doing in the writer's writing for the sake of furthering what they are about. This is Russell Crowe's role in 310 to Yoma. This is Radford's character in Captain America. Winter Soldier, this is Mankato and Mysterious and Maleficent. The true villain in the film Maleficent appears to be average Joe who lets God consume him. The message continues, we all must choose which dog to feed. Maleficent Do gives in the pain in vanishes and turns into the dark side, much like Anakin, but like Elsa in Frozen, her heart melts for the motherless girl in her sphere. She lashes out is helpless, throated, allowing her control over nature to envelop and enthrone her. Parallels abound, the weekends waits to be seen. Speaking of which, perhaps all villainy eventually goes green. This review will include spoilers, which means I can't post it on IMDb or most other places. But I can't speak frankly about the problems of the film's content without spoilers. So I am going with the spoilers, be warned. Without any doubt, the most astonishing thing about the film Maleficent is the appalling inability of contemporary criticizes to accurately review and critique the film. Surely, if there is a problem with the relationship between females and the film, then critics need to become aware of the part they play in the relationship, how to recognize it, and how to examine it. This goes far beyond a film ability test or ability to categorize film as girl power or feminist in inclusive appalachians of intrepidity when it's masculine and the refuse of greatness when it's feminine, and the way of us filmmakers and critics alike are keeping the film medium conservative and worst of all profoundly dull. In reading the early reviews over the last few days of Maleficent, I have been horrified to see its range on the Rotten Tomatoes reducing hour by hour, primarily due to the completely incorrect judgments about rape metaphors and Maleficent's characters being little more than a jealous woman who is scorned by the lover, neither of which feeder when Maleficent curses the young Aurora to hell where she has to wait for true love's kiss. It's male fantasy to imagine failure of love at the core. It is loss of freedom, not a selfish lover, that has cursed Maleficent. It is not a lost case, she laments, and anyone who thinks this is a rape metaphor is trapped in the grand door. None of this is Maleficent. There is hell is a spoiler that apparently even the criticizers who have seen the film did not pick up. Maleficent has wings removed, and that is the source of her anger and revenge. It is the removal of her power. It is a small thing to say. I have been shocked by the irresponsible drive of criticised to turn this film into something about jilted love or unbelievable genital mutilation when it never even touches on it. It's simply that she trusts a man and feels something never defined. Wooden slices of her wings. The wings are all the ever refers to. She never claims to have loved Stephen, but there is a relentless drive in criticism to redefine this lucid metaphor. She's inspired and weak, using a plot line that never appeared in the film. Maleficent does not have a rape metaphor, and if anyone knew even the slightest thing about the ancient Greek mythology, they would recognize the goddess like leading her battalions, a remarkably progressive nation of female power, and a stunning evocation of the winged victory. Angelina Jolie is worthy an Academy Award of her portrayal of one of the most progressive female characters I have never seen in film, and I can't think of another actress with the beauty, talent, screen presence, and incredible intelligence it takes to produce such a performance. The scene of her pain and humiliation is shocking and desperately sad. Most of all, I am astounded that this film has come from the Disney studios. It goes way past Frozen, past Helma and Loses, past all previous incarnations of the powerful female that Jolie herself has brought to the screen. And then one of my most loaded companies, primarily because of the horrible way the portly females has come up with the goods so clearly. so beautifully and so fearlessly has truly surprised me. I always expected to be wowed by Maleficent, its production values and fine cast, and the stunning Lana Del Rey song, but I had no idea I was in for something so progressively in touch with the post-feminist image of power and so ahead of its time. Yes, there is a one particular thematic repetition from Frozen, but this is not a problem. It is to be, and I ask you honestly, when has this kind of thing been a problem for male-oriented superhero films? Maleficent is the story of feminism rising from its ashes of revenge, reclaiming its vicious act of wings and flying to the sun in a way that Ikers could only dream. It is a story of women going through feminist places, first beauty, then innocence, then affection leading to the death of power, disbelief, anger, revenge, rage, withdrawal, sadness, self awareness, inner peace, the battle for the self, and finally, something we don't quite have yet victory. The victory of Nike, more properly evoked in the earlier battle scenes, when Maleficent feels through the field of battle to lead her troops to victory. She is also the dramatic representation of the graduation angel, shoulder angels, the battle of the self with the self as one fight to be untied the people around out of love and harmony versus the right to assert personal control and satisfaction, even if it is means the suffering of some. Maleficent is a refusal of the post enlightenment reliance on rationalism in the place of theology. She is an entirely new breed of creature, one who separates not from as essential inner realization of a fundamental truth, but as a creature bent on the inclusion of every kind of difference. She has no causes but to defend her right to life and those she loves to live. But this never translates naturalism. She is not moral, she is wise, and she wants to be suffering to come to anyone for no reason other than the abuse. Witnessing the pain in others is horrible. In this, she is more advanced than most humans alive today. Disney has not just debunked the mythology of the evil queen, as it did not is Frozen. Here they are rewritten her history. Then they have included the flaws that make her perfect, and they have built a human we barely recognize. Her know what to do with Maleficent has a history, but in the positively bolstered transformation they have given us human that is genuinely the evolution of ourselves for no other reasons than we choose to evolve. Maleficent's incredible victory flights at the end of the film is a flight of victor who has won of the battle against themselves. It is the perfect realization of transformation and evolution by our own intent design. Sleeping Beauty is a very old tale originally written in 1677 by Charles Perrault, revived around 1812 by the brothers Grimm, two scholars of local folklore. Maleficent, the characters, was an addition to the original story made in the 1959 Disney version to suggest, as some critics have, that the story did not need to be rewritten as baffling because the biggest theme of the film, spoiler alert, the removal of Maleficent's wings, is the very reason the story had to be retold. Maleficent then reacts with the anger and the aggression upon other female she uses as privilege, and if you think this is unrealistic, you should speak to the few women who have survived murder attempts to the abandon of their mother-in-law, as I have, to see what women will do to each other when their own power has been stripped away. To right the social wrong have festered in the wake of the tellings of the Sleeping Beauty myth. For its true to say that story has not reached that stage. Robert Stromberg and Linda Woolverton have reached back in the time to the ancient Greeks and the mythology between the 8th century BC to around 1600 AD that transformed all the cultures touched by the Sleeping Beauty story. You know, it's actually pretty good. It stumbles around a bit in the middle, and some of the character arc, especially Stefan, are not that great. But on the whole, Maleficent is reasonable diverting entertainment. The effects are lavish but suffer from typically Hollywood, and the scope of the film is tonally far darker than Disney's Sleeping Beauty. Yet, in spite of its often self depreciating and wing hints to the animated classic, is still entertains. Angela Jolie, Elle Fanning, Charlotte Copley, Sam Riley, Imelda Jono, Brenton. 97 minutes. The story of this fairy Maleficent, who is slighted by her first love, a human, and seeks revenge through his eventual daughter. What do we think? It's actually pretty good. It stumbles around a bit in the middle, and some of the character arcs, especially Copley's King Stephen, are not that great. But on the whole, Maleficent is reasonably diverting entertainment. The effects are lavish but suffer from typically Hollywood, and the scope of the film is tonally far darker than Disney's Sleeping Beauty. Yet, in spite of its often self depreciating flamboyance and not being hints to the animated classic, it still entertains. Like most cynical film fans, with the announcement that Disney was producing live action reworking of its Sleeping Beauty film, only with key villain Maleficent in the lead role and a central focus, I found myself scratching my head and wondering if it was a story we really needed to see. To be honest, I am still scratching my head, but at least I can answer that question honestly. Now, you don't need to see this, but for what it is, and does, Maleficent does a fair job at modernizing and classic story for a younger generation, even if much of the film thrives on Disney on template for the story with mild and not so mild twist, and goes to dark, nightmarish places in search of itself, while the animated Maleficent remains one of the Disney canon's most iconic villains. The project to soften her image and make her less evil and more understood felt a little too much like a hard sell. Also, you got the sense that when the Almighty House of Mouse put their marketing department into the same room as the screenwriter, a whiff of blockbuster success could be almost tasted. Thus, Maleficent stumbled too broadly in this vibe, digit-driven reimagining, or it is good ship slipping, beautifying itself, overshadowed by its trigger. In a far-off land, two kingdoms exist in a state of mutual distrust and hatred. One, the human world, is ruled by a paranoid and brilliant king, while the other one, known as the Moor, are ruled by the benevolent Maleficent, who guards her and farm from humans. One day, a young human boy, Stephen, attempts to steal a jewel from the Moors only to be discovered by Maleficent. Only discovered to be Maleficent. Stephen and Maleficent become friends before the eventual of power and wealth Stephen to work in the castle of the king, who jealous covers the Moors of himself. The king strikes a deal. Whoever bring the head of Maleficent to him will take the throne upon his head. Stephen, blinded by ambitious tricks Maleficent Angelina with a potion and removes her beautiful. Betrayed, Maleficent turns the moors into a dark and frightening fortress. Some years later, King Stephen and his queen have a daughter, Aurora, who is blessed by three tiny fairies, Imelda, Stanton, Juno temples Leslie. Meanwhile, during her christening ceremony, a ceremony interrupted by Maleficent seeking revenge on Stefan. She curses the teeny child to sleep like that on the 16th birthday. The most fascinating thing about the Maleficent is that it is not afraid to take the well-known story in different direction. That's probably the most prescient thing I can say about the film. Sure, for a large portion of the movie, there is the well-trod part of narrative gantry that everyone alive today would know, such as the young princess being seconded into the care of the wholly unsuitable fairy woman and the arrives of Prince Philip from a far off land as Aurora's intended true love, while Maleficent herself delivers a number of lines lifted directly from the animated film version of the story, yet in rebranding Maleficent as a misunderstanding character decades on from her truly valiant appearance in Sleeping Beauty. There's a lot of room to wiggle the nonsense out of a story as old as time. The filmmaker have cannily crafted a different Sleeping Beauty characters as the true villain of this real story. King Stephen had essayed by a wild eye Sherlock Copley. Does he do it any other way? I ask you. Take the role of the Nemesis to be feared, a man driven by power and paranoia who throws away relationship with a Maleficent from the sake of obtaining power. Maleficent is now a sympathetic character with somewhat liner and more involving backstory than that provided against Aurora hopefully radiance in Sleeping Beauty. Does this work for the character? Yeah, it does, Canada. Actually cuts off the Maleficent wing while she is asleep drugged, believing the man to be kind and good, and back again to maternal tender godmotherly figure. It's an interesting transition and one I think works as well as it done due largely to Angelina Jolie's affecting performance. Jolie towers over this film as Maleficent. Her ability into the character is seamless. Her repurposing of Eleanor oddly from Sleeping Beauty sending shivers up my spine. Julie carries the emotional weight of the film almost its entirely, although in saying it's not like she has much choice, for no other character, aside from perhaps Stefan, has the same development with Aurora. The three good fairies, Prince Philip and the other hangers on all pretty much replacement of their animated counterparts. Elle Fanning's portrayal of a teenage Aurora is all smile and light, and she is certainly up to challenge of personifying such a faultless human being, but her character offers to real light and shade, no variance in emotions other than to go get a little annoyed when it turns out Maleficent is the one who cursed her in the first palace. No, Maleficent works only because of Julie, who radiates vengeance when she gets all annoyed with Stefan. Cold